Adult bilingual development. Now, in this module, we are going to address the question whether it is as easy for the adults to learn an additional language as it is for the children. And in an indirect way, it also sort of addresses the question at what stage within schools, for instance, a second language might be introduced. Now, another thing that to remember is that it is absolutely possible for the adults to learn an additional language and become bilinguals or trilinguals in an adult age. Now, the whole evidence or the whole discussion around the adult bilingualism versus child bilingualism is centered around this construct of a critical age for learning a language. So it is argued that after a certain age, it might not be possible for the adults to achieve the kind of proficiency that the children almost seem to pick up naturally from their environment. Having said that, one thing to remember is that there is no hardcore evidence that lies on either side of how this critical age might support or how it does not support adult language learning. So there is evidence that says no, adults can actually learn a language and to the same level of proficiency, and there is evidence that after a certain age, adults cannot. So this remains an ambiguous area. However, we have individuals who have actually learned a language, have been able to pursue a degree, and this has been a language, not only a language which is very much kicking and alive, it has also been a language, for instance, the one that is used in tribal colleges, a heritage language that has been used and that has been taught for developing a respect towards the culture of those individuals. So we are saying it is possible for the learners to learn a heritage language. It is absolutely possible for them to use a language or to learn a language that is being currently used in a given context. Rather, it is argued that adults make quicker progress than the children do. And the reason that is given for this is that the cognitive structures of the adults are more developed. They can make cross-linguistic comparisons. They can remember a lot more than the children can actually know or remember. Not only this, they are also able to develop certain associative patterns because they know more, they have more linguistic knowledge. They are able to use that linguistic knowledge of whatever languages they know beforehand to develop linkages with the other language. So they have more supportive structures to learn another language. However, the pathways of learning might be different. So the children might actually just acquire a language without much thinking about it, but when the adults pick up the language, they really think about it in terms of the effect it had, how the pronunciation was right or wrong, and they are thinking about what they are doing with a given language. So what we are saying is that adults are perfectly able to pick up a language, whether it is taught to them in a formal educational setting or if they acquire it in a context which is non-formal, because adults have more highly developed metalinguistic skills that help them. And as we said, the knowledge of their first language supports their learning of the second language. Now, this might not be available to the children, where the emphasis is more or less always on this immersion style of learning. And in support of what we have said regarding adult bilingual development, the evidence that is given is that of the immigrants. So we see that immigrants, when they move into another country context, they are able to pick up the language of the given country and actually use it quite proficiently. However, there are people who do, among immigrants also, as you would point out, that do not learn the language. Now, this is what we say a difference in agency, a difference in choice. Another important thing to remember is that whenever you're learning a language, there is a lot of risk taking. So it is all right for the children if people laugh at them, you use a structure, they say they're very nice, they're very cute, look at the way they use the language. And when the adults are learning a language and they're practicing certain structures and they're not able to communicate their, what they have learned properly, then they become this object of ridicule at times, and they're looked upon as strangely, or whether that person is deranged or something. So this risk-taking also at times stops the learners from learning a language to the kind of proficiency that the children can move on to. But it does not have to do anything with their ability to learn the language efficiently. It's only the constraint in the given context that might affect their language learning.